Greetings everyone and welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we're going to be reviewing Fanatic by Jadis.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
So surprisingly, Jadis are the first band on this series who've had 3 dedicated videos for their albums on here, and that's pretty amazing. It's also pretty self-explanatory because I've never listened to them, and then somehow all their albums were bunched up in the first 100 and a bit, so that's pretty cool. But with that being said, here are some of my favorite bits from this album. So just as a recap, although I've said their name and explained who they are, Jadis are a neo-prog band originating from the, let's say, beginning to mid-90s, and they were active until the late 2000s. Of course, this album is their 6th release, released in 2003. Now, not long ago, we've actually reviewed another albums of theirs, the 7th album called Photoplay. Now, if this is the 6th, then the one that we reviewed is the 7th, and I distinctly remember people saying about the other album, about Photoplay, that it was basically lacking in doing the same flaw as the ones that came before it, and that's being very formulaic and, you know, in that way being non-progressive. And you know what, I have to admit, this album also follows a pretty close formula, and I don't mean in the structure of the album, I actually mean in the structures of the songs. They all kind of sound the same in a lot of ways, and that really does take out some of the progressiveness. But honestly, I have to be true with you, I don't really have a lot to say about this album in particular. So, you know, I sat through it, I listened to it, and honestly, the only thing I can tell you that really pops into mind, unlike the other 2 albums which I reviewed by Jadis, is the fact that there was no songs on here which I really felt like I was suffering through. I actually kind of enjoyed all the songs, and even if they were not great, I didn't feel like there was any song which I just wanted to skip. But you know, I think I will dedicate this video to some other topic which is kind of related, and that's the dilemma that arises when listening to albums like Jadis's. So you see, the best way I can describe the music of Jadis on this album and other albums is being background prog. You see, the music on here is progressive enough to be called progressive, it does have these elements, but at the same time it's not like it's anything really out of the ordinary, it's not too shabby, but it's also not simple rock music, thus it has to receive this really odd definition of being background prog. But the thing with that terminology is the fact that it's an oxymoron. Basically, the word background and the word prog, they don't really go together that well, because the idea of progressive music is to keep you listening. It's not something that goes off of a formula. It's not something that you're just gonna put in the background and forget that it's there. It's something that you really have to intently listen to, and it makes you actually aware of the music. And you know, for example, the other day I was playing some board games with my girlfriend, and I put on the turntable the record The Snow Goose by Camel. Now, we were playing, and of course it was playing in the background, yes. But as we were playing, I found myself sometimes just noticing how great the music is, or, you know, just acknowledging the fact that it's great music and it's there because it's very interactive and you always are aware that it's, you know, playing. And in its essence, that's what prog music is. It's the music that always keeps you engaged. It's something that you have to listen to, because if you're gonna miss it, you're gonna miss something very important, because the music isn't as expected as most songs and genres are. And the thing with this album, well, I can see myself putting it in the background. I can see myself washing the dishes or, you know, playing video games when it's playing in the background. And that really arises the question, is this album actually prog? So while this album was fine, it was good, I didn't suffer through it, most songs were completely fine, I actually even preferred the vocals on here rather than the two other albums which I've listened to, they're also pretty good, but in definition I don't know if I can really call this progressive music. But does it really matter what I call it? Like, doesn't it really matter if it's progressive or not progressive? Well, I guess it does kinda matter because this series is called, after all, 365 Days of Prog. I really don't know. I guess it's prog. Prog Archive says it's prog, so I'm gonna believe them, and let's move on to the cover. Jadis don't really know what to do with their covers, like it's really odd. They just kind of create this weird, surrealistic, very odd interpretation of bizarre things in their covers. Honestly, if you'd ask me, I think it really resembles the way Buckethead makes his covers, but in a lot more tamer way. But the main difference, of course, between Buckethead and Jadis is the fact that Buckethead releases an album like every 2 days and Jadis has a few years in between, so they really have time and they can think about their covers. So I don't understand why this is what they're creating, because honestly, they could do so much more with the covers for their music. They could do something special. The thing I did like about this cover though are the colors. I think they're really cool. They're really unlike anything we see on here. And by the way, here's a nice statistic. Apparently most of my videos that include an album cover which is mostly dark or black do not get as many reviews as ones who are more bright and more vibrant, and that, you know, makes a lot of sense. But in this case, I think it's good that they actually chose the lighter colors. But you know, all in all, I think it is the most interesting cover between, you know, the three that I've listened to, so that's exactly something. And I think that all in all, this album is the best out of the three that I listened to on here. So when it comes to the rating of this album, I actually finished, reviewing this album, writing down the rating for each song, and then, compiling the results for an average. And I was pretty surprised myself because I realized that this album would receive a rating of 7 out of 10. Who knew? Honestly, I was pretty surprised, but I guess that's about it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for tomorrow because we're going to be listening to Wet Dream by Richard Wright, the keyboardist, of course, for Pink Floyd. But that's about it, guys. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye, guys.